Good afternoon. I'm Gina Claxton, and I'm here to kick things off. So first, welcome, and I do want to thank again Microsoft, obviously all the Rethink Retail sponsors for hosting what's being dubbed as an evening of innovation. So just to get started, obviously the big word of the show is AI, and we've been thinking about it as if 2023 was a year of experimentation, and 2024 has been the year of adoption, really. This ahead of us is the year of realizing the business value and starting to get the return on all these investments and all these experiments that we've been making. So my experience this week, probably yours too, is a lot of walls are being broken down in terms of collaboration and sharing of ideas. Retailers talking to retailers kind of like never before, just to get those best practices, because this is all about speed. You know, who's gonna understand and learn this and be able to deliver that experience and get that loyalty and wallet share? So it's all about the how. How do you ready your data estate? How do you ready your workforce? What are you doing about security? What are you doing about governance? And how are you making sure technology is an enabler and accelerator, but still managing your risk? So the speakers we have today are really about stories. Stories where you can pick up little nuggets of inspiration and lessons learned from people that are further on the journey. And we're proud to be a part of these projects and these partnerships. So really looking forward to the talks that we have planned for you, and I'll see you back on the stage in a few minutes. Thank you.
I think we can agree that, well, retail is probably at the most exciting inflection point in its history. Everything we know about retail is about to change, and change in some pretty significant ways. But with change comes opportunity. And I gotta tell you something, the opportunities that are in this room are really endless. What will happen over the next few years will undoubtedly redefine retail and the landscape as we know it. Whether we're talking about shifting consumer values and expectations, the emergence of new business models, or the disruptive impact of technology on every aspect of the value chain, well, I guess simply put, we're just not in Kansas anymore. The world has changed. So, retail CXOs, operators, and execs are struggling with all of this change. They don't know where to start. And yet, we know they need help. Well, guess what? That's where the opportunity lies, is in helping through this extraordinary period of change. So what I'd like to talk about is how we turn those opportunities into real sustainable growth, and how to create extraordinary value for our clients, for our industry, and for ourselves. Okay, so many of us out here in the audience today have either done or have considered independent consulting. But the truth about independent consulting, and I know many of you know this, is it's difficult, right? It's this perilous path of feast or famine. You're either chasing work or chasing work and trying to find that next project, or you're so overloaded delivering that you don't have time to grow your business. And it's very hard to keep up. Or you may be so overwhelmed that you can't even deliver on the things that are coming to you. So it's a hustle. It's difficult. What has happened here with Rethink Retail and the team, what they've been building here with the advisory council, is designed to solve these problems. Instead of going it alone, we've created this collective business model.
For the retail business, the simplest way to think about this is really these two gray circles. We make all of this powerful, magical acceleration available through two pieces of software. And that's why I really want everyone to walk away from today. When you think about NVIDIA, actually think about it from the retail perspective as a software company. You access all the magic of this software, of the accelerated compute through those two circles, which are just forms of enterprise software. They sit on the Azure marketplace today. They sit on all cloud marketplaces. Azure is the only provider that has both of these today. So we'll talk more about what each one does, but you can think about NVIDIA AI Enterprise as this bundle of AI and generative AI tools. and then we'll go into NVIDIA Omniverse, which is a 3D simulation, physics-based AI. I know that's a lot to digest during happy hour, but I promise I will explain it to you. Before we go forward, I'm actually going to take us back in time. This is a slide from NVIDIA from 2023 that was shared at a conference called Computex in Taiwan by Jensen Huang. The reason I'm going back in time is many retailers today are actually still very early on this journey, right? You're in the early innings of using AI for the most part. And when it's early, it can be really hard when you have one proof of concept, a couple shadow projects that you didn't even know about were existing in your organization, 5 innovation projects. It's sometimes hard to actually see a collective view of what is the impact of all of this technology to your business when you look at it at scale, when you have a sense of what is this technology doing when there's real volume in it. So I'm taking us back in time just to show you kind of where the market was in 2023. So this is when ChatGPT came out, right? In 2023, the biggest workloads were really around large language model workloads. And in order to run one of those workloads, traditionally, that was costing $10 million. And it would be run on about equivalent of about 1,000 CPU servers. It burned 11 gigawatts of energy, and then you would get one large language model workload. Okay? When you run accelerated computing in 2023, everything's kind of gone faster and even cheaper since then. But if you run the same workload on the upper right here through accelerated computing, and you hold that same $10 million constant, okay? It only takes about 50 GPU servers, 48, but you do it at a quarter of the energy, and the productivity produces the performance goes 44 times higher. Now, we're in retail, and IT budgets are usually fairly constrained. It's a thin margin business often, so that capital can be difficult to obtain sometimes, or you have to go incrementally. So if you think about this and you look at holding the productivity constant, and you're running that same single LLM workload through accelerated compute, you're doing it at 84 times less energy and 96% less cost. This is what happens this is the magic of accelerated computing. It allows you to do so much more with your investment in AI because the marginal cost of doing AI completely and dramatically shrinks. And what that means is that you as a retailer can afford to actually do a lot more. What we typically see in our business at NVIDIA is that companies that are going along the journey into production realize when they start to accelerate, they actually have so much excess capacity left on the GPU, and from that acceleration, they can go do more. So it's an exciting time to actually make that transition together as an industry.
So Matt, as you guys have already been rolling out your technology over the previous 18 months or so, how has your approach to implementing AI in physical stores have evolved?
Sure. So for those of you that don't know Deanne, we generally provide checkout technology in the grocery, hospitality, fuel and convenience space, so hardware, software, services. We embarked on our journey of AI 3.5 years ago with the quest of improving the checkout experience for the consumer, for improving the efficiency for the attendants within store, and ultimately making it a better return on investment for the retailer. And we initially looked at what is the friction associated with checkout, and how do we use AI and emerging technologies, particularly computer vision, to try and remove some of those friction points. So for those of you who have used self-service checkout in grocery, I'm sure you will have experienced the frustration when you buy a bottle of wine and you have to wait for an attendant to come and ID you, or if you're buying fruits and vegetables, thumbing through a catalog to try and find the right type of apple. Or even if you make a mistake at the checkout and then the thing shuts down and stops the transaction and you have to wait for someone to come over. So we started on this journey with retailers to try and find technologies to try and solve some of these problems. And what we quickly found is the technology was only half of the battle. Because if you're, for example, detecting shrink at checkout, retail theft is a big topic. The identification of shrink using computer vision AI is relatively easy to do. But what do you do then as a retailer? How do I want to interact with that consumer? How do I fix that situation that isn't going to alienate that consumer and ultimately deliver a bad experience? So the last 18 months of working with retailers on deploying AI into grocery has really been about how do we operationalize the AI to make sure that we're actually delivering a technology that delivers a benefit for the consumer as well as delivering a benefit for the retailer.
Like, help us finish this amazing chat with some visionary thought about the future of AI in physical stores.
Okay, no pressure. So when you were asking about, where we're going to take this, one of the things I always think about is the E.O. Wilson quote that we have primitive emotions, we have medieval institutions, and we have godlike technology. And we're really I feel very overwhelmed and excited to be around at this time. And I know it sounds hyperbolic, but I just got back from CES, so we're starting to see the convergence of what's possible. And as we productize this, I see sensors everywhere. There's an explosion of biotech. There's an explosion of health and wellness and longevity tech, because Moore's law is working. Smaller, faster, later, cheaper. This idea of ambient technology truly being ambient. I was having a conversation today about this idea that we thought the IoT was going to be a whole bunch of stuff in our pockets. And IoT is nano size. It's small, right? So things that are happening around energy harvesting, things that are happening around battery life, supercapacitors, neural technology where you can actually manipulate things in time and space with your brain for paraplegics. That's a new way of brain-computer interfacing that will work its way into a living room near you soon.
So small sensors, big ideas.
So we have to really think about the level of this technology super cycle is real. What we do with it, it's up to you guys.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
We've got some really great learnings for you all today. Thank you to Matthew and to all of Rethink Retail for the opportunity to be here with you. And 3 of our amazing Microsoft partners. We've got SymphonyAI, we've got Typeface and Capgemini, who are going to talk to you about how they're infusing generative AI into merchandising, planning, marketing, as well as commerce. So tell us a little about how you've infused generative AI into your applications and customer workflows.
No, absolutely. So we started this whole journey of predictive AI roughly 10 years back. And then over the last 18 months to 2 years, we were one of the early ones to work with Microsoft. So thank you for the partnership, thank you for the award, and I think it's been absolutely amazing. 2 years back, we actually started with, we thought we were moving ahead with generative AI, working with co-pilots, and pretty soon, sometime almost 6 months back, we realized that this generative AI essentially has to become into more agent AI architecture. And at this point of time, and one thing we were talking earlier on is we believe that you can solve hardest of the retail problems in literally 3 agents. So right now, one of the things we've been working very extensively with Microsoft is this whole idea about agent AI architecture. So one of our more proprietary concept is how do you really create agents for pricing, promo, inventory, forecasting, and really create the business logic and the intelligence to actually have a task being done where a simple English-like prompt you can actually get through insights to execution to business process. And I believe the future definitely is about solving hardest of the problem with agents. One of the things we've been doing with one of the largest retailers in the US, $80 billion retailer, where the generative AI Cindy connected platform is live, operational, where we believe 60 to 70% of the everyday work which a category manager or a demand planner or a store operations can be automated through simple agents in an autonomous fashion. So you can free up the capacity of the organization to do things which matter the most. So a lot going on in that space. Yeah.
So what are you seeing from marketers as your customers, really as like kind of the best practices in organizations to make the best use of generative AI?
Yeah, I mean, I will certainly, admit that there's going to be some change management involved, right? Any new way of working is definitely something that takes some doing. And most of our customers, from top retailers, top enterprise service brands around the world, they do start on working with us first from a innovation standpoint, a piloting standpoint. But what we've been able to do is kind of really quickly move them beyond where they first kind of dip their toe in the water. And I'd say it's probably for a couple different reasons. So unlike other transformations that we've probably all lived through, which is, I know there's a lot of parallels out there to the transition to cloud, for instance. There are some things that are very unique and distinctly different about what at least I'm experiencing across our customers with generative AI in particular. And it has helped accelerate a lot of the adoption.
Yeah.
So one of the things that stands out is the fact that this is no longer a philosophical argument like we did with the migration to cloud, of like all these different debates that probably put us back a few years. Instead, I think we're all coming to the conclusion that this is inevitable. And most of the CMOs that I speak with on a week-to-week basis are saying, we know that we will have a Gen AI assistive component to everything within our content generation workflow. And if we know that that end state is inevitable, then what can we be doing now to start to infuse that in many different ways? So that's one thing that's very unique. The other is just the fact that you can start to have a lot more learning when you can work multimodal, multi-model. So much of the context that you need to be able to advance very quickly to make sure that it's not just generic Gen AI content, and it's not just coming from your generic, maybe meager prompt that you put into ChatGPT, that it's infused throughout the whole journey. And then last, but certainly not least, is just pure performance. So we definitely start with innovation and piloting with our customers, but I have not seen the performance be proven this quickly in a long time, and this is something that I think is very unique. We have some customers that even just in their initial testing, if you think about going beyond just an A and B test, now that you have the ability to create all these different SKUs that are personalized, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, then the performance gains are just inevitable. And those initial performance gains, even from a really small test, a very narrow test in the beginning, have more than justified the investment, certainly in the technology, but then also in the resources on the customer side to be able to make it happen and some of the change management. Right away, we've been able to prove out the ROI. And you can't get anywhere without that. You really can't escape that in any way.
You must be in such a neat spot, really helping customers kind of see what's next, what's around the corner. And certainly, I think everything we've seen at NRF this week has been about agents and agentic AI. So I'd love to hear from you. What are you seeing, and what do you see as really next for agentic AI in retail?
I'm glad you asked. I was happy to be here to see NVIDIA, SymphonyAI, Typeface. And what I was thinking about as I was hearing all these great peers in my industry is, how do we bring this all together to make it happen? And that's really what Capgemini is all about, is bring it together to make it happen. Agentic AI has to become more than just a dream that we see at NRF, right? We have to think about it in terms of outcomes, not just queries anymore.
Yeah.
And we go from an assistant that's more of a passive query to really thinking about agentic AI as something that you're giving a goal to, that you're delivering an outcome, that you're giving another entity essentially the control to take direction and to reason and to drive toward an outcome. Designing that is going to be hard work. Building is going to be hard work, and it's more than just the technology. It's bringing all the capabilities together to make it successful.
Yeah, but the idea of like an agent that is shopping on my behalf, like around the clock, is pretty exciting. Anyone else want to do 24-hour-a-day shopping? So when we think about kind of these like agents of the future, how do you think they're really different from the AI assistants we have now?
100%. If you can imagine, I'll take an example. As you said, a personal shopper. Someone that's, you say, hey, I need these items, what are the best items? Give me the best apples, what have you, from a grocery store, versus I'm catering this event on Friday. I'm going to have 20 people. Some of the people will be gluten-free. Can you shop for me, identify the recipes, put together the shopping list, purchase on my behalf, finding the best deals, and then ensure it's delivered in time for the event? That's what we're talking about here, your personal caterer, as you were asking for. And we could see this the same way with retailers. Their team members in the stores, in the warehouse, in the corporate offices. You can imagine in the warehouse talking about essentially seeing when stores need to reorder and deliver product, and then identifying that product that has to be brought in to ensure that you're delivering on the promotions in the right markets and optimizing the profit, sales, sentiment, whatever the outcome you're giving that agent. So designing for those outcomes will be the key in building agents that actually work.
But if you take a look at this year, ChatGPT has penetrated 60% of the households, which is an impressive figure. But again, if we take a look at where the conversation is going, most people are interested in where the AI equation is going to go moving forward. 3 days ago, Satya from Microsoft actually made a prediction and said that software as a service is dead. If we take a look at historically how we have operated, you have 3 systems. I'm simplifying it, right? There is a system of record, call it SAP, Oracle, Workday, it really doesn't matter. There is a system of engagement, whatever platforms we have for employee engagement and customer engagement. And the third layer is actually the system of insights. With the adoption of the agentic AI that's been actually quite a bit discussed throughout the day, we do have an opportunity where the system of insight layer is going to start bleeding into the system of engagement and the system of record. With that backdrop, if you actually take a look at where this thing is going to go, not only are the innovations are going to increase, the speed of innovation is going to increase as well. Now, for all the companies, for all the retailers, for all the CPGs that we're working with, fundamentally, we have 3 questions that we need to answer. One is, what is our strategy in the age of AI, particularly when we're talking about serving customers or serving our employees? Now, if you're talking about serving customers, today, there's an impressive number of companies on the exhibitor floor that you can actually take a look at also, who are talking about AI and customer engagement, whether you're talking about pricing, trying on outfits, you send your picture, there's a size recommendation coming your way. But ultimately, AI in the consumer engagement, customer interaction models is going to revolutionize the way we actually work with the customers as retailers. The second opportunity, which is going to be probably more difficult than we think, is the future of work as we think through AI embedment. Today, we're working with companies potentially in the retail segment that's more on the luxury side of the house, when we're talking about anyone going into a jewelry store, and when anyone talking about actually ordering a diamond ring. And when we're talking about diamond ring, it can be 2 carat, hopefully more than that. When we're talking about the clarity of the diamond ring, the shape of the diamond ring, essentially the ring that actually it sits on, the diamond sits on, you will see innovations that are actually happening in the store where you'll be creating designs on the fly. And when I say designs on the fly, this is not necessarily talking about specifications given to you to create the product that you want, but essentially also given about your mood, the event, the occasion that you're actually shopping for, and essentially your workforce in the stores adopting these technologies to create value. When we're talking about balancing innovation with responsible AI, the great hypothesis that we're going to have is not necessarily you need to have responsible AI practices, but when we're talking about AI governance, AI controls, and the data privacy that fuels our AI applications, particularly on the consumer engagement side of the house, the opportunity resides on the fact that whoever is going to push the boundaries. With that, I do want to talk about, while we're talking about the value, the insights, the value proposition we're going to get, we're in an interesting space. If you take a look at the standard distribution of companies, on the right-hand side, we have the very mature $20 billion plus, whether we're talking about CPG companies or the retailers. On the left-hand side of the equation, you have more of the digital natives, smaller footprint retailers, and unfortunately, the smaller retailers have actually gotten a better job of adopting the AI equation. Now, this is where when we're talking about where are you on your AI journey of becoming an intelligent enterprise, the ability to actually shift the equation and being on the left-hand side is actually more powerful than being on the right-hand side.